Fred Film Radio from the International Film Festival in Venice. I'm Angelo Acerbi here with Gastón Solnicki and Willem Dafoe. Good morning for the film The SOUFFLEUR.
Morning.
So you were saying, Willem, how did you meet? How did you meet? The two of you.
Well, we met at a place in Greece where there's a mentor program for young filmmakers, and that's where we met. And we'd read scripts and we'd look at a film and we'd talk about it among the mentors. And I always loved listening to Gastón speak, because he always speaks with a very personal and original view, and I've always feel inspired by him. And then I went and saw his movies, and I thought, these are beautiful, poetic movies. They aren't features. And when we started talking, it was like, do you want to make a feature? And he said, yeah, I would like to make a feature. He can speak to this. And then we started talking about doing something together.
So, Gastón, how did you come up with this story of this hotel manager played by Willem that is trying to fight the disruption of his hotel, which is his home, actually, more than his hotel only?
Well, this film, like my previous work, doesn't often kick off with a story or an hypothesis that I want to, prove to the world or display on a screen. I must say, in that regard, it's a much more complex, and I never identify myself very much with screenwriting, even though I try hard. Somehow, when I see sheet music, it makes much more sense. Things that resemble a finished film in terms of dynamics and structure. It just seems like most things in this world, they're in a wrong pace, in a wrong unit, It's a world that, we talk about religions and political borders, and we talk about genres, and it's not surprised how things end because of the words we use to name them. So I think Willem, when we met in Greece, it was true. It was not just young filmmakers, but first films, and somehow they took me, even though I had made some features, because I never went with the script. And this script I presented was only 20 pages. And Willem was curious about this, and he saw some things online, and he approached us in a very generous way. And the conversation began, then came a friendship, and somehow we ended up making this film, which I think was very, looking a little back behind, very bold from both of us, because we both really stepped out of our comfort zone, if we have one. Certainly out of our register. And I think this is where things happen in general, like things that appeal to me, that are, generous, and they are somehow, and the last hope I have in cinema is that films, in the end, no matter how many things still happen, they represent, they are a function of the emotions from which they're made. Where they're calculated, where they're generous, where they're bold. It's not something you can make up into. And with Willem, there was a big dilemma for years. Is the film going to fall more within Willem's, field or within mine? I could not, it's like a chess game. I was looking at this for years. I did not understand.
Well, the chess game, which is in the movie.
Yes.
So this is a good reference.
And Willem insisted, this is a film like you make, just that I'm on it. And I said, I cannot make a film like I make with you because it's already different. But he was right. In the end, I understood that this is, of course, not the narrative film. Somehow but these things don't exist anyway. It's like Lucrecia Martel says, ideas, they only are there to get you going somewhere. You must get rid of them before they explode in your hands. Like spaceships, once they get off the space, it's just a little. Yeah. And this is so important, to be open to, not to the ideas within, but to look. And cinema, you cannot fake that, you must. And with Willem, we were forced to.
Actually, watching the movie, what came out to me is that Willem's character is very intuitive. He tries to find any possible way to solve this issue. And this intuition is in the film as well, because, also the film goes very often in different ways that you're not expecting. Like it was like a spark of an idea that came up between the two of you and then resulted in an action and in a scene. Am I right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say a spark of an idea, but for sure a spark that sets up some kind of fire, hopefully, and that, what we're doing, we try to understand what we're doing. This is how I think of my practice, as our colleague John Cage once said, and it's not just a metaphor. We really are trying to figure out, not just assuming things and representing and, based on calculations, but we're really trying to see, and I think a lot, unlikely to one could assume that this is a avant-garde, laconic, boring. I am thinking all the time, from my very first film, about the audience. not in a condescending way. I'm thinking about communication, about not treating them like idiots. I like the oral tradition. I like voiceover. I like to be free, to be economic. I want the images and the films to be, to be engaging, to be involved. I find there is a challenge, but there's also, food. There is nurture, not just for cinephiles, but my mother, she likes my films too.
One last question for William. How did you fit in this idea of cinema? Was it very comfortable for you? Because you look comfortable, actually.
Every time I do something, I like to think I can adapt to what the director's vision is. That's the pleasure, going towards what he sees, going towards, or being material for him. And the other nice thing that I wanted to mention is the people that he brought into the project aren't necessarily traditional actors. In fact, they aren't normally actors. So also they contribute to creating this world. They are things in this world, as are these beautiful locations that we have. So we show up, we have, as we say, basic idea, just an A to B, not what stuff means, but something to get us moving. And then we see what's beautiful or touching, or we see where that combination of things takes us. So it's a very organic way. And I like very much what he said, what we're doing, the emotion of what we're doing is, we don't want to express that or replicate that. It just informs the actions that we're doing. And that becomes the film.
I'm not an actor, but I was trained as an actor by the same tradition as Willem. And I never told you this, but once I was very... you didn't know? No. But you could tell.
I couldn't tell.
But once there was this very good teacher, Meyerhold Stanislavski, tradition in Buenos Aires. And I was very nervous about to go to a scene. And he told me a great thing, the teacher. He was out before I came in and he said, Gasti, enjoy yourself. You're not going to be an actor. He was right.
And here we are. Well, thanks a lot to Gastón Solnicki and Willem Dafoe for the film The SOUFFLEUR here at the Venice Festival. I'm Angelo for Acerbi for Fred, the Festival Insider.